She'll be a president our children can look up to. She'll be a president respected by world leaders because she already is. She'll be a president we can all be proud of.
There was a big response overall from the crowd at the UC for President Joe Biden as he touted his VP Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. The speech was a look back on his legacy and a handoff to Harris and the next generation of politicians.
To dig more into that, we got political science professor Stephen Maynard Caliendo from North Central College joining us to talk about these big moments. And one of the big goals for President Biden was, of course, this symbolic passing of the torch to Harris. We heard him talking about her being a president that your kids can look up to. How do you think he did with this passing?
I thought he did really well. I mean, the fact that he went so late into the evening was not his fault. We watched the RNC in Milwaukee, and it was really tightly scripted. It was a little bit loose last night, and I'm such a nerd. I positioned myself behind the teleprompters because I wanted to see when people went off script, and they really didn't very much, which says to me that the production was a little bit too loose. That's just too late for the East Coast to go. But the president delivered a really powerful speech, touting his accomplishments and tying Kamala Harris to those accomplishments. And it was very clear. It was clear what he wanted to do, and I think with the energy that he came with, people were happy to see him. It was an emotional time, I think, for a lot of people in this crowd, because he means so much to them for so long, and they understood that this was a sort of a swan song.
Yeah. Now, so he talked about his accomplishments, but the president also used it to showcase and remind people and give credit to his vice president, that she was along for the ride with this administration. Do you think that was necessary and effective with voters?
Yeah, I do think it's necessary and effective. If you're going to make the argument that it was successful, you don't want to have her distance from it. It's interesting that part of what the Trump campaign is trying to do is say that she cannot run away from the Biden record. And I think it was clear last night, what we're going to see the rest of the week, is that she's not attempting to run away from the Biden record, that she's proud of what she's accomplished with President Biden, and that she is going to be running on that. And so they were setting that up very deliberately as a contrast to what we heard in Milwaukee.
And that might be why we saw her make that surprise appearance with him as well.
And to be sitting, yes, to make the surprise appearance. Of course, that gets the crowd all fired up, but that was because it was a surprise. Everybody likes surprises. But also that she was sitting there then as he was talking, and so she was showing her support for him. So again, to any possible dynamics that we worried about, maybe that she was behind the scenes trying to boot him out so she could take the reins, to see them embrace on the stage after his speech, for instance, I think that's all important part of the symbolism that was happening last night.
And we did call that the elephant in the room, and him saying, you know what, I'm not angry. I don't harbor any ill feelings to anyone who wanted me to step aside. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I don't know how authentic it was. I mean, he maybe got there now. He certainly wasn't there 3 or 4 weeks ago. And I thought it was interesting, of course, the First Lady spoke as well, and there was a lot of speculation about where she was after the debate with President Trump to determine whether or not her husband should back out. And so everybody seemed unified last night. That's the goal of a convention, is to emerge unified, to project a powerful image of being unified, and they pulled that off last night very well.
President Biden also mentioned Donald Trump, calling him a loser. I mean, he mentioned him several times, but at one point he called him a loser. Does that mean, in your opinion, that this kinder, gentler approach to this campaign, as noted after Trump's assassination attempt, might be gone, or is this simply a let's fight fire with fire move?
I don't know. I mean, look, that was gone a couple of days later by the time the Republicans got to Milwaukee, and their talk didn't sort of change. And so I think that it's definitely going to be consistent with what surrogates have to do, that is, people that are speaking on behalf of the candidate. I think Vice President Harris will try to talk tough, but not be so aggressive, not just at the convention this week, but in her campaign stops in the next couple of months as well.
All right, Stephen, thank you so much. Appreciate your insight.